Have you ever heard whispers in the wind that no one else seems to hear? Picture this: a quaint, serene village nestled in the lush greenery of Bangladesh. A place where the air carries the scent of wet earth and ripened jackfruits, where the rhythm of life is dictated by the rising and setting sun. But beneath this veneer of tranquility, the wind carries whispers that only the most attentive ears can hear. These are not just any whispers. They are the murmurs of the unseen, ethereal voices that seem to be carried from another time, another plane. They are the echoes of tales untold, secrets unshared, and mysteries buried deep within the heart of this seemingly peaceful village. Now let's meet the protagonist of our story, a curious outsider with an insatiable thirst for the unknown. With a heart full of curiosity and a spirit undeterred by the unknown, this outsider recently moved into the village. It didn't take long for the whispers in the wind to catch their attention. The unseen voices, barely audible above the rustling leaves and chirping crickets, piqued their interest and stirred their curiosity. These whispers, these unseen voices, they seemed to be calling out to our protagonist, beckoning them towards secrets that were waiting to be unraveled. They were like an enigmatic puzzle, a cryptic language that needed to be deciphered. And it was this very intrigue, this very mystery that drew our protagonist deeper into the heart of the village, into the heart of the unknown. As the sun set and the village was bathed in the soft golden hues of twilight, the whispers grew louder, more persistent. They seemed to be telling a story that had been silenced for far too long. A story that was yearning to be heard, to be understood. And so our protagonist decided to uncover the truth behind these whispers. Every village has its secrets, and this one was no different. As our tale unfolds, our protagonist finds themselves enmeshed in the intricate web of village life. The villagers, with their weathered faces and knowing smiles, were like living, breathing chapters of an unwritten book. Each carried a piece of the village's history, its stories, its secrets. The protagonist noticed an unspoken rule among the villagers. Whenever the whispers were mentioned, conversations would halt abruptly. Smiles would fade, eyes would dart away, the air would grow heavy with unspoken words, and a palpable sense of unease would settle in. It was as if by merely mentioning the whispers, they were inviting an unwanted guest into their midst. This peculiar behavior only served to fuel the protagonist's curiosity. It was a curiosity born not out of a desire for gossip or idle chatter, but of a genuine need to understand, to comprehend the unspoken rules, the hidden fears, the hushed whispers. What was it about these whispers that caused such a reaction among the villagers? As the protagonist delved deeper, they began to uncover fragments of the village's old, forgotten lore. Tales of ancient battles fought and won, of love found and lost, of friendships forged and broken. But these stories, as intriguing as they were, only seemed to scratch the surface. Beneath the layers of history and tradition, there was something more, something darker. A secret that was as old as the village itself. A secret that lurked in the shadows, whispered in the wind, echoed in the silence. It was a secret that the villagers guarded fiercely, a secret they were afraid to reveal. The protagonist was drawn to this secret like a moth to a flame. They were determined to uncover the truth, to solve the mystery that shrouded the village. But the more they probed, the more they questioned, the more elusive the villagers became. The villagers' smiles turned into frowns, their welcoming gestures into wary glances. But the more the protagonist tried to dig deeper, the more evasive the villagers became. They were left at the edge of a precipice, staring into the abyss of the unknown, their curiosity unsated, their questions unanswered. The village's secret remained just that, a secret. Old stories often hold truths that time tries to bury. And so it was that our protagonist found himself in the company of an aged villager, a living relic who held the keys to the ancient lore of the village. This elderly soul, with eyes that held stories and a voice that echoed history, began to weave a tale. He spoke of a time when the village was young and the trees were old, when the wind carried more than just the scent of the earth. It was a time when the wind bore the whispers of a spirit seeking justice. He told the protagonist of a tale passed down through generations, a tale of an unjust act, a past wrong that had left a wound on the heart of the village. The spirit was once a villager, a man with a heart of gold and a soul as pure as the morning dew. Betrayed by his kin, he had met an untimely end, and his spirit lingered, seeking justice. The wind was his voice, his medium to the physical world. He communicated through the rustling leaves, the swaying branches, the gentle breeze that touched the faces of the villagers. He was not a malevolent spirit, the old villager clarified, but a soul in pain, a soul seeking closure. The protagonist listened, his heart heavy with the weight of the tale. He could almost hear the whispers in the wind, the soft sighs of a spirit longing for justice. The tale was an eerie one, a haunted melody that echoed the sorrow of the past. The protagonist found himself engrossed in the tale, his mind filled with the echoes of the old lore. He could feel the spirit's longing, the wind's whisper growing louder in his mind. The story was not just an old lore anymore, it was a call to action, a plea for justice. And it was then that our protagonist decided to heed the whispers. Sometimes the unseen guides us where we need to go. So it was for our protagonist who, in his quest for truth, heeded the whispers that seemed to echo from the very air itself. In the quiet of the night, our protagonist resolved to communicate with the spirit. A daunting task, you might think, but for someone who had heard the whispers, seen the signs, it was merely the next step. He began to follow the whispers, their ethereal tone guiding him through the darkened village. Each whisper seemed to carry an echo of the past, a fragment of a story long forgotten. The whispers led him on a winding path, past the familiar sights of the village, now bathed in the eerie glow of the moon. They echoed through the fields, rustled in the trees, and finally led him to the outskirts of the village. His heart pounded in his chest, his breath fogging up in the cool night air as he traced the path of the whispers. The whispers, once soft and distant, now grew louder, more insistent. They painted a vivid picture of the village's past, of secrets buried deep, of tales untold. The whispers spoke of a time when the village thrived, of joy and sorrow, of love and loss, and of a darkness that once descended upon them. And then, there it was. The whispers led him to an old, dilapidated house. The house, a relic of the past, stood ominously against the backdrop of the night sky. Its wooden structure creaked in the wind, the shutters banged against the window frames, and the whispers seemed to emanate from its very walls. The house, it seemed, was a testament to the village's past. It held the secrets that the whisper spoke of. It was here that the protagonist felt the full force of the whispers, the weight of the village's past bearing down on him. The whispers grew louder, the wind more restless, as the protagonist stood before an old, dilapidated house. The story of the village, it seemed, was far from over, and there, in that house, the whispers turned into screams. In the hushed silence, our protagonist found themselves standing on the precipice of a chilling revelation. A revelation so haunting, it could make the bravest soul shudder. As they delved deeper into the forgotten corners of the village's past, they began to uncover a tale of injustice, a tale that had been buried under layers of time and fear. The whispers that had been their constant companion now began to weave a narrative of a spirit wronged, a soul denied justice. The house, the village, the whispers, they were all soaked in the anguish of this spirit, the spirit of a person who once was a part of the village, who lived and laughed amongst them. A person who was wronged, betrayed by their own. You see, the villagers weren't just innocent bystanders in this tale of the supernatural, they were the perpetrators, the ones who had inflicted the pain. The spirit was one of them, a part of their community. But in the face of greed and fear, they turned their backs on their kin. In the dead of the night, the spirit was wronged. Injustice was meted out, and the village's secret was born. From that day, the whispers began. Whispers that turned into screams. Screams that echoed the spirit's pain. Each whisper was a plea for justice, a demand for the truth to be revealed. As the protagonist pieced together this harrowing tale, they felt a chill run down their spine. The whispers, the screams, the spirit were all crying out to them, crying out for justice, for redemption, and they knew they were the only ones who could deliver it. As the protagonist stood there, the whispers suddenly stopped, the wind grew eerily silent, and then darkness. The past had been uncovered, the truth revealed. The haunting revelation hung heavy in the air, a shroud of silence enveloping the village. And in that moment, they knew the real challenge was just beginning.